Okay, today I wanted to talk about something specific. I still haven't gotten Governor Cuomo's book about the COVID leadership, and I want to get into that. It's from the 17th to 24th. It's supposed to arrive, so hopefully it'll come in soon. But I saw something last night on the news that I was just like, oh, God, I cannot believe it. Chris Cuomo, Governor Cuomo's brother, is on the news talking about this. Oh, what's her name now? I can't remember. I posted something. This woman who has, disappeared, and obviously it's her fiance that has killed her. And it's like, oh my God, this is horrible. This poor woman. That's so hypocritical. It's not even funny. This is happening all of the time. And the problem is just escalating because a lack of oversight of the courts that are empowering the rapists, the murderers, the pedophiles. They're winning the game because all the little ladies are out to lunch. On the right, on the left, the ones in their homes, as well as the ones in the workplace. They're all too busy cashing in. This narcissism epidemic that was started in the 1980s by the pruppies and yuppies with lead cheerleaders like Cornelia Guest, but also Kerry Kennedy and all of the Kennedy family. I mean, Doug Shar, son of Dwight Shar, real estate mogul, I'm sure Kerry Kennedy knows him, told me back in the 80s, he said, oh my God, everybody in the Kennedy family is just totally immoral. And then are pretty damn low if you look into Dwight Shar and Doug Shar, the family there. And this is the level of amorality that has controlled Washington for a very, very, very long time. I mean, I came in the end of the 70s at Foxcroft. I mean, I came to the area. It existed before, but it had just, the Reagan era just opened the floodgates, along with the feminist movement and the death of the liberal class, Fritz Hedges. So today I wanted to have a little heart-to-heart talk, woman to woman, with Andrew Cuomo's daughters, Michaela, Mariah, and Cara. They're a little bit younger than my two sons, who I haven't seen for 15 years because of the type of BS that these girls' mother has been playing. I mean, she's not alone, of course. We've got all, I got a whole slew of names of little ladies in Washington. Anne Marie Slaughter, Eleanor Schmeals, Sharmini Curry, Gina Paoni, Nancy Pelosi, Karen Groen. The list goes on and on and on and on. Well, all of them have been grappling up the ladder of success and partying and cashing in. I've been working. And I've been looking at everything that all these human rights defenders should be doing. And they're just, the domestic violence industry, the human rights industry, it's just a money-making industry. And I have the names and names and names. I've got some sun coming in here. The names and names and names of people across the board. Harry Kennedy's just one of them, Baltasar Garzon, Amnesty International. I mean, I first started contacting them in Spain in 2007. Because also I had started researching in all the crap, because I knew, that it was crap. And I come across their reports on what's going on in Spain and the human rights violations of victims of domestic abuse. When I go down there, because they don't respond, they just play the ignore her till she goes away game. I get a couple line letter that's signed, but you can't, you can't decipher the signature, and there's no name on there. It says human rights violations only happen in Darfur and Sudan. See, well, all of the human rights people are churning out and churning out and churning out. I mean, trillions of dollars is being spent on all of this crap for reports and reports and reports. But they turn a blind eye to everything. Oh no, we're building shelters. We've done lots and lots and lots for the victims because we're building lots of shelters. That's their go-to solution. Oh my God, well, you know what? All those shelters, when I take all your assets and throw you out on the street, you can go and live in the shelters too. Tit for tat. You want to play this game with me, little ladies? We play this game. So, Michaela, Mariah, and Cara, I hope you might take a good, hard look at, and this goes for all of the, I'm basically talking to all of the kids in their 20s, even in 30s, who are still just beginning their careers. But careers amongst forthrighters, Nazi forthrighters. They're either extremists on the left and extremists on the right. Carrie Kennedy and that whole thing, she started that. She and Caroline and everybody else, I mean, cashing in on the death of her father and her uncle. That's all the Kennedy family has been doing. Because this country has been going to shit for a long time, in part due to the Kennedy clan and dynasty. And take a look at your father's family and what your father's done in his career in life, and what your mother's done and her family. Because her family are just crass, social climbing, amoral bootleggers. And all of the Kennedys, I mean, they assassinated Bobby and JFK because he was a threat to the Koch brothers and the Fourth Reichers and the alt-right, who didn't want a real civil rights movement. And that's why Martin Luther King was assassinated as well, took the leadership out of the African American, or a true leadership and a peaceful leadership. Now, I mean, the African American communities, it's the same as the feminists. Just, I want to grapple up the ladder of success. I mean, oh, we voted in a Black president, and that's how we know we had a successful civil rights movement. Yet civil rights and human rights violations are rampant in this country. We're in the new Jim Crow. We have a total breakdown in the rule of law. A lot of that is due to the war on drugs. Yet the civil rights movement was a great success because we had a Black African American president, and now we have a Black African American vice president woman. Now, why didn't those two, why have neither of them dismantled the new Jim Crow? No, because they sold out. They sold their souls. They sold their own people for fame and fortune and glory. So all of these people in Washington who have all of these awards, Nobel Prizes even, that's a stamp of a Nazi these days. The Nazis in the Third Reich, they had lots of Nobel Prizes as well, particularly in science. It's the same trajectory. Now read Jim Marrs, The Rise of the Fourth Reich, and Dark Money, Jane Mayer, If You Don't Believe Me, and there's a whole slew of other books out there that documents all of this. So why is your mom up on a podium promoting human rights around the world and follow the example of the Americans with the trickle down that has just produced increased income inequality, horrific social injustices in this country? What's trickled down is the amorality of the families like the Kennedys, the Shahs. Believe me, it's incredible how many Jewish people I know who have been complicit to the rise of the Fourth Reich. Harvey Eisenberg, one of the top merger and acquisition lawyers in this country. He was with me at GW. GW was an education because it was filled with Japs. And as I always tell people, they laughed at me when I said, well, I don't see any Japanese. I said, oh, Jewish version of yuppies and preppies. I get it. They've done the same stuff. And I know, probably as many of those within the Jap community as I do with the yuppie and preppy community. This is why I left. And in fact, when I started to look at, I read a book, expose all about your parents' marriage, but when I started to look at articles and your father and your mother, this is another thing, your father's family, they were immigrants poor immigrants from Italy, hard workers. His father served New York, okay. Sometimes with my enemy, but you can't, as I say, I wanted to get into serving, not politics in elected, any kind of elected capacity, but as a civil servant. And when I got to Capitol Hill, I was 17 years old. By the time I had been there a year or two, I was like, yeah, this is not democracy. This is bullshit. And I got into the financial markets and I said, oh Lord, you people are even worse. So I had a very, I'd be top hedge fund because believe me, I can see what's going on in the markets. If I had stayed in the game, I would have made a shitload of money. And anybody who wants to can laugh at me for that. But you want to give me a little bit of their time, I can explain exactly how I could have made a shitload of money because I saw what was coming. And it's not that difficult. Believe me, these guys pour over charts and all sorts. If you start examining all of the statistics, you can see it's just, do you really want to spend your life like that? I do it on occasions when I'm looking at economies and as I say, occasionally, but to spend my days and it's stressful. Oh, it's exciting. Trading? Well, it's like one of the casino and gambling. I imagine because I don't gamble in the casino because then it's my money. And that's no fun because then it's you who take the loss. See how seductive that world can be, and it has seduced a lot of people. But you know, it took me about 2 years to go, okay, well, this was enjoyable, but it's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And quite frankly, staying home and taking care of my children was much more interesting. Well, and we also traveled. I mean, not just jet setting around. I mean, we went to live in different places. So I actually got to see how people lived. This whole jet setting around all the time. I don't know how you guys enjoy a life like that. I've been jet setting since I was, you know, in the 70s, since I was, before I can remember. And believe me, I don't enjoy going to airports and getting on airplanes and all of the travel involved. So if I just can do it once and go and live there for like a year, thank you very much. So I don't know how you guys think that this is an exciting life. From where I'm sitting, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money, taxpayers and shareholders' money, because that's where you get your funding. And also counterproductive for you all. I mean, look at your mother with the Alzheimer's. That's from her lifestyle. And quite frankly, I mean, when I started looking into your father, he's a good guy. And they're very, very few far between. And that's a global phenomenon. And I don't think the younger ones are any better than the ones of my age. They might even be worse. And their problems, all of their zipper problems, you really want to get rid of the sexual violence, you got to address the zipper problems of the men. And that is coming from dysfunctional upbringings by their mothers principally. Now, yes, the fathers do have an influence, but particularly like the rapists and men who direct, you know, their violence is directed primarily towards women. You know, the serial killers, those type of things, and you'll see with the serial killers, the victim is always looks very, very similar, and it's usually maybe a you know, ex-wife or fiance, or you know, some, or a mother that it resembles, because it does. This is what gives these men this anger management problem. As I say, it can come from the father, but you know, because if they're taught to suppress their anger when they're young and just have this violence around them, whether it be emotional or physical, and suppress it, well, the anger stays there, it doesn't leave, and it just festers up. And then when they get older, you know, it's been incorporated into them, and they you know, it'll explode, and they don't even understand where all this anger, built up anger, is coming from. That's why they all end up with psychiatrists. And if they have a decent psychiatrist, then they can work through it. The problem is you got 70 to 90% of the psychiatrists out there who need to be locked up. You see the picture? The real picture, not this bullshit that your mom wants to espouse. Probably, but I mean, I've listened to some of her speeches, but I can just imagine what she tells her daughters. Because one of the things that my heart went out to your father when he read his message to you three. And I'm sure that what hurt him more than anything else were those looks that his daughter gave him, and that his daughters were judging him and reproaching him for something. I mean, I'm sorry, as a woman, this is where women have to stand up and start saying, I mean, the real women, to denounce the little bitches who just want to dominate and control men. No, wait a second. That's bullshit. It doesn't matter what his intention was. Of course it does. When I get all of you guys to court, do you want me to say, oh, it doesn't matter what their intention was? It just matters the damage that they caused? Off with their heads. And your father is totally right when he says this is a due process issue. And how your mother doesn't understand that is precisely the problem with the human rights industry. I mean, we've got a total breakdown in the rule of law. As I said in one video, you know, if Kamala Harris had a brain, she would go, this is a due process issue with Governor Cuomo. We're not going to hang him out to dry. Yeah, let's think about this for a second. Yeah, we got a problem. This is bullshit. No, but see, Kamala Harris, I mean, you talk about your feminist, she's as bad as Michelle Obama. I mean, ask anybody out there, any of the victims. The Black and brown women are the worst. The women are the worst, but then within that, well, I don't know the Asians, but I think the consensus is, I guess we'd have to take an official poll between all of the victims to really get, you know, sufficient statistics there. But within the women, the worst, or the women, oh, everybody agrees on that one. We all agree on that one. So there's women getting women into positions of power is just increasing in oppression and lawlessness and chaos. And that's why the feminists are attacking your father, and your mother's remaining silent. And you know, she really should be ashamed of herself. She's the one who should be ashamed, not your father. Because it does matter what a man's intentions are. And also what the gravity of the situation is. Something I get into, you know, particularly when you're in your 20s and you're out there and looking just as much as the men are looking. So don't tell me you're not. A lot of you are looking even more. And particularly when you're working in a Machiavellian world like this, you have to have a little bit of a thick skin. I mean, sexist remarks. I've heard it. I've been as denigrated. I've probably been more denigrated in the past 13 years since I've been back. Yeah, definitely more denigrated by the women towards me as an old lady and, you know, a useless deposed trophy wife who, you know, can't even, you know, get a minimum wage job. And of course, that's why there's such discrimination against the deposed trophy wives within all of the industries, because it helps with their oppression. And that's the HR function that's principally doing that, which is, of course, controlled by the feminists, managerialists, the affirmative actionists, the minoritarists, the libertines. Oh, they want to produce as many parties as they possibly can. And all of these, I was looking through all three of yours profiles, Kara, associate at asset management global firm with the SDGs. I mean, I when I saw this stuff about the SDGs, that was a PowerPoint presentation for Mark Lewis of the Institute for Capacity Development that I see on the internet. And that's, I guess, a year or so after I've been ousted from the Institute for Capacity Development. Now, when I was in that department, that was 2011 to 2015, I was doing the bulk of my research. I was also looking for financing for my Global Expats project. Now, the platform is crossed between Facebook, LinkedIn, TripAdvisor, and Yelp.com. So these platforms, and I came up with it about the same time, it was 2005, 2006. Yelp was 2005, and I forget the others are afterwards. So I came up with the idea, oh gosh, you could, no, we go with advertising. This is where we make a lot of money. And then, but that's the money-making portion of the project. The other portion, which is what I wanted to do, but I knew I had to make the money for it because I don't come from a wealthy family. And nobody's going to help me get lots and lots of donor money. And I won't go down that road because I know it is with strings attached. Yeah, see, with being an old lady, you get experience. I've applied for jobs with all sorts of asset management things. Plus, I've applied for funding with capital ventures across the United States, throughout Spain, and in France. But since I'm a stupid, deposed trophy wife who was a stay-at-home mom, I know nothing and can't find partners nor funding. Even though it's a great project, I mean, look at Facebook. The damage done by Zuckerberg. Why? But you put a young kid who just wanted to get laid with all of his buddies in college. That's how they came up with the idea. So, everybody who has or who are promoting the SDGs, I'm going to be seeing them in court for the propaganda. I mean, I think I've written twice to David Stockman and said, Houston, ding, 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 you got a problem. He was the one who came up with trickle down. SDGs is just a global repeat of the trickle down. And you're going to implement it with a bunch of narcissists and psychopaths? Because that's as prevalent within the international development community as it is within Washington and Hollywood and New York City, Manhattan. And that's why the income inequality is just going to keep on increasing, and why everybody's getting angrier and angrier. I mean, one of my favorite examples is Amazon. I mean, okay, that's not a social media platform, that's a different type of product, if you will, than mine. But he said to everybody that he was like 90% sure that the thing would fail, and scribbled together a business plan, yet he still got funding from his family and then, other sources. My family? Are you kidding? They've done everything that they possibly can to destroy the project. Just like my ex-husband, I mean, they just jumped, oh boy, oh Lord, they were like, oh yeah, we can destroy her work and her, just like with her father, because of all of their jealousy of me, just like with my father. Yeah, woo. We can't wait. I'm like, yeah, well, you guys, you're going to end, you've gone down the same road as mom. And look how that ended for her. See, Foxcroft wants to promote, that's one of the reasons why they won't give me a voice, is their courageous conversations. They don't like me. I was never liked. I was never popular. This 90210 stuff, high school mentality that guides Washington and the ruling elite with it has got to go. That's why everybody's getting pissed off. Everybody, the only thing anybody does in Washington is party, give out awards, and tell each other how wonderful they all are. Well, we've got to keep on siphoning money. You just got another $3 trillion injected by the Fed to try and keep it up. I mean, at least they had some, oh, well, we can't do that when they injected the 1 trillion, which is totally against, all rules of capitalism. This time they just slipped it under the carpet because conveniently we have a COVID pandemic. And there's still questions as to where that came from. Now, I've seen, there were some accusations that seemed very, they said that Bill Gates had patents on that. And if that's true, if that's the same strain that's out there, the question becomes, well, of course, then we can, if there's a patent and that's the same thing that's out there, then that's coming from a lab. Then the question becomes, who owns the patent? And was this an accident or was it on purpose? Because Bill Gates is eugenic, or his family was. See, it's important. The reputation and one's family that they come from is an antiquated idea, if you will, but it is important. You shouldn't be solely judged on your family, but also, this is also gets into family honor. I mean, you all are both Kennedys and Cuomos. I mean, one of the points that I'm making with my family, because, I'm being, somehow, well, according to my cousin, the Antichrist. Well, still don't figure that one out, but I'm the treasonous one I can follow. The Antichrist is still, it need a little explanation there. But I'm not the one who's being treasonous by wanting to take my country to the international courts and everybody along with it. Everybody who's colluding. No, I'm the one who's fighting to uphold the Constitution, democracy, and the Bill of Rights in my country and in Europe, and there'll be a spillover globally. And also with, as the UN report, good practices for eliminating discrimination and violence against women shows that violence against women occurs in cross-border contexts, so you have the opportunities for cross-border solutions. But that's not happening, and I've showed that with my own case. I get hung out to, I mean, basically, well, and this is well documented, Karen Winter. The feminist movement has totally eroded women and children's rights in the West. I mean, I'm a stateless and rightsless person, not only in my own country, but in Spain, in Europe, and I do have a French nationality as well, but I'm a stateless, rightsless person there. The French consulate even took my name off its registration in Madrid. I'm sure, well, in case, her body shows up someplace, well, we'll just deny that we even knew she was here. Because I went down to them 3 times and they told me to F off. Even though I I had 0.25% chance of survival. So I did want to show you consequence. For example, Caroline Kennedy, your aunt, look at what she's implicated in. She was the ambassador to Spain under Obama. See this child? Special needs child. And he, father American, mother Japanese, Tokyo. Father was, there was a property theft or intellectual property theft. His father works with some medical patents, technology. It's regenerative work. I think there's, I think it like where there are possibilities of muscular, what is that, MS, I think. I did talk to him about it, but I mean, I'm sitting in a room, I can't promote it when everybody's trying to shut me up. But he's been developing this because this is Auschwitz. They were doing experiments in the hospital where this child ended up. And it's a whole, they got a whole ward of children there. And this is in Tokyo. And they're purposely, giving them, this is Auschwitz, not giving them enough calories to see what it does to the bodies. And the poor child, they tried to suffocate him. At first, they tried to kill him. When they didn't kill him, look at the skeleton of this child. It's called Jimmy's Wish on Facebook. Facebook is overflowing with victims, and Facebook knows about it. Oh, but there's nothing they can do. I'm sure, Carrie, your mother, that'd be the go-to response. I mean, Lori Handrahan, that's the go-to response. All of the human rights people, that's their go-to response with me. There's nothing we can do. I'm like, wait a second. I've already prepared the cases to challenge Gonzalez Linehan versus USA, the defense of the Americans there, and wipe them, to kingdom come. The Spaniards against Gonzalez Carreño versus Spain 2014, CEDAW. Now, if you can tell me where I'm wrong in my argumentation, then we can have a discussion that there's nothing that can be done. But nothing can be done. I got to get to a meeting because I'm too busy to get on a speech and give a podium promoting my new book. Then fly with me. No, sorry. I'll see you in court along with everybody else. I told that to Carrie Bettinger Lopez in 2015. I just saw it in my inbox. They're doing some meeting, the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and Carrie Bettinger Lopez to advise believe me, it's all in my inbox. I don't delete them. It's proof. And I will, someday the corruption, the lawlessness, and all of the partying and all of the amorality in this city and country that your mom wants to cover up, that Caroline Kennedy wants to cover up. I mean, come on, your grandmother is one of she was here even before Nancy Reagan. Come on in, Nancy. Join the little club of all little bitches who control this city and let anything happen and everything happen as long as you're part of the protected little group in our Northwest. It's a protection racket. It's a mafia. And I mean, the first interview I got, they said they'd never find me a job. because anybody interviewing would be afraid that in 6 months I'd have their job. And one of the reasons why I'm excluded and canceled from the labor force and should just go and commit sati and make everybody happy is because the jobs are kept for little girls your age who are fresh meat for all the lecherous old men. Now you two, well, you three are not going to have to sleep your way up. You know, you with your both your parents' names, you'll get the jobs without that. But a lot of, believe me, I may be an old lady, yeah, but I can still turn a few heads. And if I had really wanted to work it and play the games like your mom and all of the other little ladies, you know, I'm sorry. Whole bunch of just sluts. They'll sell their bodies, they sell their souls. And I think that's, you know, right now, that's the question all the 20, 30-year-olds need to be asking themselves, and you know, those in their teens. Because if you keep on this paradigm, which is a, you know, headed towards another world war, it will end up in a war. It will collapse. And, you know, guys my age might just make it out before that happens. But all you people younger, you're going to be suffering the consequences. And, you know, this thing about getting women into the battlefield, getting to the battlefield, there's a reason for that. You really, really, really want to go out there and kill people, ladies? I mean, that was one of the advantages that we had before. No, you boys go out and do the killing. You want to kill people, go ahead and kill people. I mean, I won't even kill animals. Well, flies. The crazy lady here who, I mean, you talk about abusive, and she calls me inhumane because I kill the flies that infest our kitchen. And I shouldn't be killing animals. Washington is crazy, as is everyone in it. And I left here in the 80s, long before you children were born, or even a thought. Okay? So I saw it way, way before you. And I've seen the same thing all over the world. Believe me, I didn't spend my time locked up in country clubs like your mom and your grandmother and your aunts and your uncles, you know, and rappelling up the ladder of a success. I mean, I actually, like, because everybody travels around the world. I see, you know, is it all three of you, I think, you know, gone. One of you've gone to Colombia. Have you seen the conditions of some of the people there? I have. I was involved in a project. We were examining street children of Bogota, and it was El Padre Nicolò. And it was a wonderful project. It broke my heart, these poor children. I wasn't in the country club. I was out, you know, downtown. They had, you know, in the market and seeing the city. And, you know, of course, I went to the museums, but I didn't just hang out at museums. or concert halls and live the good life. I actually went and I talked to people. I mean, I knew all of the artisans, the best ones. And in fact, I had wanted to export the artisans. There's a horrific problem of these artisan people being exploited by their own government. What is it called? I can't remember, the government agency that handles the exportation, you know, the artisan stuff and works with them. They should be ashamed of themselves. Absolutely ashamed of themselves. As should the countries and the people who are distributing those products. You know what the intellectual property theft of patterns and things like that of indigenous populations is by all the big wig designers making tons and tons and tons of money. It used to be the ruling elite women who set the la mode for fashion, not a bunch of homosexual men. So, you know, and I went to Haiti to visit my older sister. She was living in Port-au-Prince. That's another thing. I mean, she's lived in these countries. I mean, she should be really ashamed of herself. Typical, you know, expat wife, country club, social backstabber. Oh, she's just taken over from my mother. Oh God. See, I have two sisters. We're three girls as well in my family. So I'm sorry, but what's been done to your father here by the members of his family that bullied him into apologizing on national TV in front of the world for really something that he shouldn't have had to have felt need to apologize for. I was really, when I saw his video there, I was like, you girls, my siblings did the same thing to my father all the time. And, you know, my mom was at the lead. My mom had taught them those things, even though growing up, we criticized it and were just like, oh my God, and anything to get away from her. I mean, I was like, thank God when we got sent to boarding school, but I always said, poor Dad, we jumped ship and he went down with the ship. These hysterical, narcissistic, you know, queen for a day, immediate gratification women are absolutely destroying the country. I know I'm not the only one who's sick and tired of it. And for example, one of the consequences here in Washington, oh my God, do I get it from the Black people? Black ladies. They're like, well, the white bitches are bitches, so we'll just be bitches back. And it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Because all of you are off promoting SDGs and jet setting around the world while Rome is burning. I mean, I'm not saying go storming up to the Capitol with guns, but like we've been doing for 10 years, and not these little mealy mouth social climbing idiots that are actually following your mother's lead, you all's lead, you know, the international development community. They think this is how things get done. Because you come and you schmooze and you cruise and you go to lots and lots of parties and listen to lots and lots of speeches and pass out lots and lots of business cards, and everybody goes kiss, kiss. Oh, isn't this wonderful? Oh, we'll see you at the next convention. I mean, the same way your father, inappropriate hugging. I mean, my Lord, with some of you, I'm like, would you give a break? That is so fake and phony, it's not even funny. Well, that bothers me. Why don't anybody give me a voice in front of the TV? Because I have a bunch of slobbering bitchy witches who, oh, let's be best friends, and then stab you in the back. I mean, Foxcroft's motto is friends for life. My motto with Foxcroft is, with friends like these, who needs enemies? And I mean, the alumni of the school, lots of them that I know personally, are up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. I mean, in the same boat that your mom's in. And they were all, because they're all friends. That's why I'm ostracized from the little group. I mean, I don't know. I guess all of the people here in Washington with, like at the IMF, the Institute for Capacity Development, I'm sure they thought I was a nobody and fair game, because obviously if after 7 years I'm still, with a minimum wage, literally, a floater secretary job, promoting all sorts of people, into even staff positions, that I'm more qualified than they are. So obviously, if they can get away with this and nobody will protect me, and I can't find lawyers, I can't find anybody, I'm fair game. My husband knew about all of this. He even said to me, he said, you leave me, you have to prostitute yourself in order to survive. Those are the new rules of the game. Your father talked about he didn't realize to what extent the rules of the game had changed. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. It almost cost me my life. Now, your poor father, they're going after him, and they're trying to destroy his career and him. I mean, this was done to my father. And he was one of the top cardiologists in the United States, if not world. Another damage that all of this little game playing of your mom and her friends and their friends and their friends, because they're all connected, is that my father's work, his life work, that my mother wanted to destroy, and my siblings want to cancel, just like with my Global Expats project. So see, this is where the jealousy gets in. Their lives have not been a success. They've been a failure. Even though, oh Lord, my younger sister, trumps, just take away a couple of zeros in the net debt. If you listen to her, she's the most successful business person in the world. But I know the truth. So all of these people sitting there saying how successful they are, I know the true story of their families and what they've been doing, and their children and their marriages and their life and their morals. And it's all a facade. It's all to try and show how respectable, all the fine dining and all of that stuff is to show how respectable Americans are. But guess what? The world isn't fooled. They know. And in fact, I'm really embarrassed globally, and I have been for a long time, about the my compatriots. Yeah, at least the ruling class, who is setting the example for the rest of the country, who is following that example and has been. And as I say, it's sorry, I got something in here. It's Washington, New York City, Chicago, but Hollywood. Bill Maher, one of my favorite things from him was, what I love about coming to Washington is it makes the people in Hollywood look sincere. So, you know, as I said, I was looking at you know, the different things that you all are involved in. Social media strategist, Mariah, for Fortune 500, the corporate world is trying to take over. I mean, they're destroying labor rights. And that whole, for example, the corporate structure in the restaurant business is a perfect way to have case studies and seeing the dysfunctionality of corporate management. They're much bigger than a huge corporation, so you don't have to go through quite so many numbers, and you don't have quite so many employees, but you see the results. I mean, the restaurants in Washington right now, the best things that they could do: fire all of the managers and let the workers work with no management whatsoever. The chaos produced would be a hell of a lot less than having these managers in there. I mean, I've worked with hostesses who were managers but needed a break. One place, there was it was Iriki at DuPont Circle. I'm sure your mother knows that. That little lady, the one who owns, what's her name? Well, Riki is her last name. She's not sitting pretty. And there was a floor manager position open. I worked there for a little while as a hostess. Rick Stewart even admitted to me the place was a dictatorship. I was just sitting there going, you got that right. And one girl who worked with me, she came into Kalari, and I told her, I said, oh my God, there was a floor manager job, but I just was like, do I really want to do that to myself? And she laughed and she looked at me and she said, no, you don't. Believe me, there are a lot of competent people in the restaurant business who are like, yeah, I tell me where I can work else, you know, get me someplace sane to work, because they're all insane. And it's the insanity, mismanagement, chaos, because everybody wants to get on a podium like your mother and give a speech instead of work like your father and be boring. And those people we don't like, and they make us look bad. So we're going to get rid of them. Of course, your father made everybody look bad. He was the one who stepped up to the plate and produced the best results within, quite frankly, I know a government agency that is rife with the exact same problems that your mother and all of these little HR people and all of the human rights people and all the little ladies out there that I'm going to be challenging in court as soon as I get them there. Now, the men, I keep on telling them, grow a pair, because the end game of the feminist is to be in total power and control. And I explained to them, I say, you know what? You only need one man to impregnate a hell of a lot of ladies. So you become obsolete in this Machiavellian world and Fourth Reicher world that they want to usher in. Now, what the feminists and all the minorists have failed to calculate in this little game, because they're in within the Democrats. That's why you got the extremism on the left as much as the right. And you all obviously are the alt left. You know, so what you all have failed to calculate in this little game is the Fourth Reichers and Koch brothers. Let's just put them all together in because you know, I'm sure there's factions there, but just like all of the factions on the left, they're working at the same time, maybe not together, but working at the same time towards the same objective. And the feminists and the minorists is to become the new oppressors and the new dominators, and the right, the alt-right, is to maintain dominance of the white. And not, sometimes white male supremacists, not necessarily, but yeah, because I mean, you could use Ivanka Trump as an example. You know, pussy grabbing father, what's the problem? I mean, the woman who is here, who lives here, she even said to me, she said, she came, you know, she's about 10 years younger than, excuse me, older than I am. She came 10 years before I did in the 70s and worked, I think she probably graduated high school. I don't know if she went to college, but travel agent always. Made lots and lots and lots of money. Spent lots and lots and lots of money. And now spends over a ton drugged on some mommy pills and slamming and threatening to kill everybody in the house and burn it down. So that's the reality for many, many people during COVID. Well, you know, I've had my $1 million home stolen from me, my children stolen from me, thrown out on the streets with nothing, totally discriminated against since I've been back, thrown into poverty, mistreated all over the frickin' place. But it's no big deal. But if some little lady got upset that your father just made her a little bit uncomfortable, ooh, that's a federal case, and we better take it to the courts and destroy the man. See the hypocrisy there? And these are the exact same people that I've been lobbying to go to the courts. But no, they're too busy discussing all of these difficult problems and trying to come up with solutions. Even though I handed them the legal solution, so I didn't go on that committee, which has never gotten anywhere. And I went on the committee, the outreach committee to the press. That committee is yours truly. Because the moment it's time to do any real work and implement anything, oh, no. I got to promote my book. I got to get on the podium and give another speech. I got a meeting. I got to meet with somebody very, very important so we can discuss these problems. 15 years I've been doing this. So don't tell me it's in my head. I mean, I loved it when Trump, with the January insurrection, said, oh, no, it was just imagined. No, you guys are imagining it. They didn't mean anything bad. And Rachel Maddow particularly, oh my God, ha, 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 ha. I'm like, excuse me, Rachel Maddow, you little ladies pull that one out on us all the time. All the time. With your gaslighting bullshit. The difference with the old ladies and why we're a danger and have to be kept out of the game, particularly the ones who opted out of brown nosing and sleeping their way up the ladder of success, is that we are a threat because we see right through it all. And somebody pulls that crap on us, we laugh in their face. So where the hell did you come up with that one, bimbo? Where you leave poor men tongue-tied. There is a book that all three of you should read, Women's Inhumanity to Women by Phyllis Chesler. I mean, I won't go on and on, because I guess I've already gone on for more than an hour. And you can look at my profile. What I'm doing. I can tell you my siblings, for example, I have the one who lives in Colombia with the nationalism stuff. I told her, I said, road you want to go down, there's nothing to stop the Colombian government of seizing your assets and throwing you out of the country. That's something that everybody, because one of the things with my divorce, and one of the reasons, because see, the allegations that my ex-husband brought, saying that I was a drug addict and had been a problem child and got sent to reform school since the age of 12. I went to Foxcroft, and before that, Cobham Hall. These are not reform schools. And, oh Lord, particularly at Foxcroft, yeah, there was a lot of drugs. I didn't have the money. Well, first, I mean, it's a process, because you start at 14 and you finish at 18. But believe me, and this whole thing with Prince Andrew and underage girls, I don't know what age you guys lost your virginity and everybody else in your high schools, but I would put money down that the percentage of virgins that graduate from high school, particularly, Deerfield Academy at Foxcroft, it was like an embarrassment. You weren't cool if you were still a virgin when you were 18. It was only the nerds who were still a virgin. So, and believe me, a lot of times it wasn't with boys their age. I mean, the girls, particularly at that age, they all want older men. I mean, girls, well, physically, I think maybe, I'm not sure. But, or maybe not, but you just maybe see it. No. They're interested in boys before boys are interested in girls, and they're always a couple of years ahead of the boys. Now, some of them at 17 and 18, yeah, they're looking for sugar daddies. You even have platforms that are madam services. They go after Ghislaine Maxwell, but these platforms are out there, and that's no problem. Escort services have existed for a long time. A friend of mine, he was in an escort service. He was a guy who worked at a restaurant. Really nice guy, though. He was a male prostitute, but a wonder he had a heart of gold. One of the few people I met in Washington who had a heart of gold. He was a male prostitute and a waiter. Just goes to show you. And he even said, you work and you work and you work, and you're exhausted. You go to school, you work. You don't have to do that. I mean, what they would hook you up with is they take you out to Kennedy Center, a nice restaurant that's not walking the street. I said, no, that's not my bag. I don't judge anybody. But that's not my bag. I will work, every single day. I will get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and work every day and not get a loan and pay my way. But that's not my bag. As I say, I do not judge other people. And also, I don't like other people judging me. Like, oh, I won't sleep with anybody now, so I should just commit sati and accept the fact that the world's corrupt and everybody in it is corrupt, and I should just go off and do everybody a favor and disappear. This is the reality of the world that your mom wants to promote and that you all want to promote, and that my siblings want to promote, that my former classmates want to promote. I mean, I'm not saying we're all alone or responsible, but all I'm saying is, and as I say, my children are still in Spain. I haven't heard from them. I know that my ex has filled them with all sorts of things about me and all sorts of lies, so that they'll never want to have anything to do with me again. Now Spain, he's see, this is another example of how these revolutionaries bullshit. Both of his grandfathers were on the losing side of the Spanish Civil War. One was an anarchist and the other was a communist. The anarchist was just a mean old son of a bitch. The communist, at least he had some, political convictions, but admitted, no, communism was much as a con artist as everybody else. Well, what is this is what I've been fighting against from day one. Anybody has to just go war on domestic terrorism. All the letters I've been writing from day one, I've been challenging everything under Constitution, Penal Code, Civil Code, International Convention. Day one. And everybody who is colluding to support that corruption, and I just keep on racking on another name. Okay, you want to get on the bandwagon? Okay, get on. I'm not going to argue with you, because you cannot negotiate with terrorists. And that's what everybody is out there, either on the left or the right. So, as I keep on saying, I realize all of the adults in the room, I'm kidding, not I'm graduated from kindergarten, keep on saying, our children are going to lead us out of the problems that they created. I'm like, are you kidding? Your children are more narcissistic and psychopathic than you are. And they're also kids. They're going to fix all the problems that you created, and you can't figure out how to fix them. So you're going to say the younger generation is going to fix them? And the younger generation is just buying into it. I was just seeing yesterday, suicide rates against the e-gen population is like up 27% or something like that. Of course. What do you think this paradigm produces? Suicides, Alzheimer's, mental illnesses. I think you all are working on all of these things. Window dressing. The paradigm that your mother's family is so desperate to support. They are all here cashing in. And when an investigation starts, they're going to have to be held to account like everybody else. Like in a real democracy. I mean, my God, it's well known in this town how many times your grandmother was stopped for drunk driving and the cops couldn't do anything because it was Ethel Kennedy. I mean, that was in the day of Marion Barry and cocaine all over the freaking place. The city was the murder capital of the world. And who was snorting the cocaine? Yeah, okay, the blacks did the crack. But that was because they were selling to the whites. And that's why the whole thing came in. It was the golden age. My Lord. I mean, I worked at Paper Moon in Georgetown, Cafe Med, let's see, where else did I work? It was like I worked at Four Seasons Powerhouse. I worked at Maison Blanche. I mean, okay, that wasn't the cocaine. That was the big wigs, the right next to the White House. We had a center. It was the Powerhouse restaurant back then. Reagan came in. We had jelly beans and Reagan. Yeah, you have, I don't know how many senators, how many whatever coming in every day. I was like, well, I've been working up on Capitol Hill since I was 17 years old. His old hat to me. See him up there all the time. What's the big deal? So, and also, I knew some of them personally. I mean, Congressman Clay Shaw. He's up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. I mean, okay, he's passed away, but his daughter, Jen Shaw, she's going to be in the same position as your mother. I mean, your mom should start taking a look at Foxcroft alumni and giving them a call and going, little ladies, can we maybe find a lawyer who knows what they're doing? Because this lady's coming after us. And remember, she was smarter than every single one of us in school. And that's why we've been treating her like shit and canceled her, because we didn't like her. She wasn't popular. She actually read books. She actually paid attention in class. She actually asked questions in class. Oh, she didn't hang out at Martha's Vineyard or Palm Beach. No, I was on my parents' farm, reforming houses, living the real life. While all of my classmates, well, not all of them, because some of them came from families like I did, living the good life. And believe me, I know my sister, my younger sister, celebrity chef to the stars in Telluride, Colorado. Whew. That economy is going to go to shit. And it's not going to look too good for them, or she's not going to fare very well. When everybody in town finds out what a little backstabbing bitch she is and what she's been involved in my case, and her little friend Chris Dicker. See, the backstabbing games, Machiavellian games that women get involved in, when they get the men involved, the unsuspecting men, once again, you say it doesn't matter what the intention was. It was what the damage was. Okay, so let's play that game. All you people, doesn't matter what your intention was. It doesn't matter if you knew anything. The only thing that matters is the damage that your actions caused. every single person in Washington, I think, could end up in prison for life with that one. So everybody who's supporting that agenda and everybody who's supporting that type of argumentation, because these are the normalization of this rhetoric and this idea that, man, it doesn't matter what you meant. It only matters if I was offended and if I felt damaged in some way. See, all of these little things that you little ladies are trying to infiltrate, the norms that all you little ladies are trying to infiltrate, the feminists, these oppressive, and this is where the ideologies and the rhetoric and how you slowly erode and transform the discussion, which of course then becomes the normality within a social order. So see, this has been great damage putting these little ladies into the workplace because of you've given them financial power. Before, they just had their manipulative power. And as I can show with many people in like in my family or stuff, I'm like, yeah, okay, but yeah, I know the little games that you're playing, and you're scurrying around because you think with the 5 people that you know, you're going to defame my character and you're going to create this whole false reality about me. But guess what? Your little entourage is like maybe 5 people. What I'm dealing with is like hundreds of millions. So I don't care what those 5 people have to say about me. So go ahead. As I told my older sister, I said, well, I know all of the little Machiavellian games that you, mom, cousins have been playing. And it's every single one of them is an abusive mother and wife and a failure as a person. And you just have to look at their children to see that. Same thing with my father, with my ex-husband's family. I mean, I don't know which one is worse. But see, this is this independence, everybody for themselves paradigm of abusive family and dysfunctional family that the Americans want to promote is self-destructive and ends very, very poorly every single time. Now, the other split side is the Spanish family, which is like the Italian, basically Italian, Greek, I mean, Mediterranean, it's all the same. It doesn't matter if Northern Mediterranean or Southern Mediterranean, believe me. You know, it's Stockholm syndrome with the dysfunctional and abusive family. Now, within a functional and supportive family, that is the cornerstone of your society and your community. But with a dysfunctional one and an abusive one, like, I mean, my Lord, the problem is rampant in Spain. That's why the cover-up is so rampant. I mean, Juan Carlos murdered his 14-year-old brother when he was 18 after the kid had won a golf tournament. Jealousy. One of the things that I always tried to make not instill in my sons, which I saw, and I'm sure that your mother instilled in you 3 girls, of, you know, this competition to be the center of attention and the limelight. I mean, that's what my older sister, and I'm like, go ahead. I mean, really, you would try and destroy your sister and her children just so you could be in the limelight, or you would try and help destroy. just like it did with Dan. See, it repeats, and I mean, she goes on and on and on about how, thank God, she and I never repeated what our mother did. See, this is what I got my sons taken from me. I had everything taken from me. I'm dirt poor, you know, 1 foot in the street. And this is proof that she's the good mother and I'm the failure. I mean, believe me, my mother and my sisters, they have just loved this for the past 15 years. See, the psychopaths, they actually get adrenaline high. They actually get pleasure from seeing the suffering of other people. That is why this, you know, gimme, and then I'm going to turn around and do all sorts of, you know, human rights NGOs and go to church and good work in the world. I'm sure you all have learned to repeat that one. And I'm sure it is repeated by those in your entourage every single day, talking about the good work you are doing in the world. Well, everybody who's repeating that cult motto and drunk the Kool-Aid of the cult is going to end up like all the other cults, and that Kool-Aid will kill you, literally. So, okay, I won't go on. Yeah, well, there was just Michaela, It's On Us campaign, combat sexual assault on college campuses. We see something, say something, propaganda. First off, for example, Dr. Kim, he stepped down from the World Bank because he couldn't control all of the little zipper problems and game playing between all of the different factions in there, which, you know, it's just, that's typical. Same thing at IMF, same thing at State Department, same thing at White House. This is repeated everywhere. But he actually left, and he was an Obama appointee, of course, because Obama liked him. They were friends. So he couldn't, you know, he couldn't handle it. So he left. He had been, before that, he had been at Dartmouth. And they have the worst sexual harassment and rape and all of that culture there. Of course, it's rampant in Ivy League schools. Kavanaugh, he's par for the course. There's a Kennedy, what was it? Kennedy Smith? One of the Kenny kids raped the girl back in the 80s in Palm Beach, covered up. Same thing. This is the paradigm and the norms and customs that all the yuppies and preppies have been promoting since the 80s and the golden age. And, you know, that's why we did the Coke. They brought in the whole debutante thing. If you look at the debutante balls that was started, it was the Charlotte Ball, and that was King George's the third's wife, which is the Revolution time. You know, to present the how should I say it, the acceptable girls, the respectable girls, to the respectable men, to find them husbands, which then they afterwards help these husbands who own the industrial, you know, the companies, the land, the positions in government, all of the ruling elite. And why? To make sure that these men got wives who weren't whores and who had a brain and would help them as partners in their careers. I mean, their careers, a lot of times this is, you know, most of the time it was the family business. And of course, it produced a paradigm where, you know, you lived your life for not what you wanted to do yourself necessarily, but you had a lot of obligations. Now, that comes with the territory. You know, you can't expect to be part of the ruling elite and have no obligations. Or you can't be any member of society, any member of a social order who wants to live in a group with other human beings. That's going to imply certain obligations and certain responsibilities on your part. And the higher up you get, the more responsibility you have towards the people in the community. Because you are liberated in your time. You don't have to spend all of your time toiling in the fields just to, you know, to put food on the table. And that's what legitimizes your position. But, you know, oh, I've arrived. I got into the right Ivy League schools. We turned a blind eye to everything. And why do you think the drugs are so rampant there? All these kids, believe me, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I saw what was going on in the homes of everybody around me. And real screwed up shit. I don't think I've ever known a truly, truly functional family in my life. That's the paradigm that we have. Now, until we address that, or the sexual assault, none of that stuff will go away. And the sexual assault will just continue because these young boys were brought up by bitchy mothers and they hate women. They have no respect for women. They see women as an object because that's what a lot of their mothers were. And this whole thing about being, you know, oppressed because you're married and you have a husband and you have children and a family and you work for your husband's career rather than your own, that you're somehow submissive or dominated. That's just like the biggest bullshit. The biggest bullshit of all. The only reason that you're submissive or dominated is if they can steal your assets. This is another thing. Before, women, because of course when you're poor, there's no assets to divide. But when there are, the upper class women, they were, when it was under the church, there were certain rules of having to provide for women and children and, you know, the offspring of these men who would become financially dependent on them rather than just throw them out on the streets and steal all of the assets. I mean, this is one of the things that I've been proving from day one. Spain has the most utopian Spanish and, you know, legal system in the world. Yet I have no more rights than in some village in India, where the husband can say, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you, throw you out on the street with nothing. Take your children, throw you out on the street. Same situation in the United States, same situation in Spain, same situation everywhere. Now, if anybody wants to challenge me on that, got no problem. But not by screaming and yelling at me and telling me I'm a stupid idiot because I'm a dumb, stupid trophy wife and I'm a stupid woman and I don't know anything and scream and yell at me and call me stupid, 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 stupid. So if you want to have a dialogue like that, like everybody, so I met, I mean, I either get and walk away, or you're just stupid, you don't know what you're talking about. So, if really I didn't know what I was talking about, then why is everybody afraid to have a discussion with me? On a podium or in the courts? Well, get me a court that, I'm going to have to interview some of these judges to find out if they're psychopaths first or not. Okay. And the lawyers, I mean, get me in a court where there's some sort of respect for the rule of law and a proper procedure, and not these sham courts that you guys got going on right now. And that, of course, what your mom and all of her little friends want to maintain, because that way they maintain their position. I mean, if the victims could hold all of the human rights NGOs to account, all of the domestic violence NGOs who are taking everybody for a ride and fraudulent, they disappear. And a lot of the people working in them would be going to prison on fraud charges. So of course, they don't want that to end. That's the libertines on the left, as much as, the ones on the right are sitting pretty because their plan's working out just fine. Because what's going to happen here is that the chaos, the markets will collapse, the feminists will have risen into power, as will, so the positions of power will be filled by minority people and feminists. Everything's going to collapse. Then the people are going to get really angry. I mean, if you think they're angry now, you ain't seen nothing yet. You're going to get really angry. And then that's when the Fourth Reichers, the white male supremacists, are going to step in and save the day. And then we get an extreme right dictatorship. See how it's going to work? It's worked like that in the past. Worked just fine. So I don't know why it wouldn't work this time. That's where it's headed. So, okay, little girls. Sorry, my lord. I went on for an hour and 3/4. Well, I hope if you three do not listen to me, maybe those who are in their 20s and 30s and who will not reach retirement before all of this is collapsed. And it's all going to be sitting in your lap. And you will be blamed for it all. And if you continue on with this rhetoric of, well, it doesn't matter what the intentions were. I don't believe in capital punishment, but I know there are a lot of people out there who do. And don't even, one of the problems with Nuremberg trials was they didn't respect due process, and that has reverberated ever since. So this has been the standard that's been set by those in power. When you get toppled, those are the standards that the people are going to be holding you to. And all of these erosion because you do have the right to be considered innocent until proven guilty. Everybody here, the press. I mean, this was for the three daughters, not for Chris Cuomo. I guess I would have to do another one for Chris Cuomo, but there's a lot of things here for Chris Cuomo. Ditto. Because CNN's up shit's creek without a paddle with me. As I say, I contacted them back in 2007 and have been since, along with all of the press people. And I got thousands of names of press people, as I do human rights people, as I do lawyers, as I do feminists, as I do domestic violence people. You know, nobody wants to do their jobs. They just want to tell me to shut up, stupid. I'm like, okay, well, I got your name. Okay. You want me to get pissed off and go and kill somebody or kill myself? See how it works? That's fine. Not gonna happen. I know this game. I know this waiting game. I can play it too. Oh, okay. Come on. This way. When the house of cards does collapse and you're home. I don't know if you're living with your mom or where you're living, but there will be raping and pillaging, and you might be the recipient of that. It's you know, basically in the development community, the attitude of everybody, like with Effie Salita, whose son was killed in Afghanistan. She was the head of global partnership. I guess, you know, everybody in the World Bank and IMF just consider this collateral damage, and, you know, a few of our kids are going to get killed, but, you know, that's the price to pay. That's the only excuse I can find. You know, Mark Lewis is now the head of global partnerships. They know all about me. I worked there for 4 years. My work, everything I'm doing. They've all gotten letters. So they, you know, they choose this side of the oppressor. That's their choice. Now, I guess you little girls, that's, you know, you I hope you will think about some of the things that I've said here and reflect on the future of your lives, as well as all of the others your age. Because this is the reality. The bullshit that everybody else has been telling you, your parents, and all these big wigs in this city, it's all lies. It's all propaganda. So that the men can get laid and the women can go shopping. That's the bottom line. All they care about. So hope you might reconsider what and who you're supporting.